So let's wrap up dealing with angle relationships. A couple vocab words. Linear pair. Linear pair are two angles, two adjacent angles that form a straight line. And linear pairs add up to 180 degrees because they form a straight line. And we know a straight line is 180 degrees. So these are, we could also say they're supplementary. Okay? Vertical angles are a pair of opposite angles formed by the intersection of two straight lines. So we got a couple examples here. All right, hopefully you see these opposite angles like 134 and 134. Those are congruent. Vertical angles are going to be congruent. So like in this diagram with the 1, 2, 3, 4, angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and angle 4 and angle 2 are also congruent. Okay? These two are going to be super important going on from here on out, talking about angle relationships in not only this unit, but throughout this entire year. Okay? So linear pairs are angles that form a straight line, so they add up to 180. Vertical angles are when you have the two straight lines that cross, those opposite angles are going to be congruent. Okay? So, let's talk about example 3. Given angle ABD, and these should all have M's in front of them because we're talking about the measures of the angle. All right, so ABD, this angle right here, is 2x plus 40. Angle DBC, this angle right here, is 2y plus 40. And then measure of angle EBC, I'm going to get a different color just to start differentiating. EBC is x plus 2y. All right, we want to find the measure of angle ABE. That's the angle we don't know yet. All right, so let's see. We've got a couple different things here. We've got linear pairs and we have vertical angles. So we can set up some equations in order to solve for both x and y. All right, we have a linear pair. 2x plus 40 and 2y plus 40. Those two angles adjacent form a linear pair, form a straight line. So those two together are going to equal 180. Okay? We also have another linear pair here. Okay, we've got 2y plus 40 plus x plus 2y is equal to 180. And then we also have vertical angles here. Okay, we have ABD and CBE. And those vertical angles are going to be congruent. They're going to equal each other. So 2x plus 40 equals x plus 2y. So we have three different equations here. And I don't need all three. I need two of them. Because notice in all three of these equations separately, they both have an x and a y. I can't just use one of those equations to solve for both my variables. I have two variables that I need to solve for, therefore I need to set up a system. Okay? So if I want to set up a system, I just need to take two of these equations, it doesn't matter which two, set up a system, solve using either substitution or elimination. Okay? So I'm going to choose the first one and the last one. Again, that's just my choice. If you want to use the middle one, totally fine. All right, I need to rewrite both the top and the bottom one so that it's a number and then x, number and then y equals a number. Okay, so I'm going to rearrange it so that it's the x, the y, the equals the number. Okay, so if I do that, my top equation, after I rewrite it, is going to become 2x plus 2y equals 100. Okay? And then the bottom equation, after I rewrite this, is going to become x minus 2y equals negative 40. So from here, it's a system. I already have opposite coefficients on the y's, so I'm going to use elimination. I'm going to eliminate the y's, I'll get 3x equals 60. So x is going to equal 20. Now if I plug that back into either equation, I'm going to choose the bottom one. So 20 minus 2y equals negative 40. Okay, if I do that and solve, I'm going to get y to equal 30. Okay? So I can now double check. I can take this x and this y, plug it back into all three of the equations that I started with, and just make sure that it works. And you'll see that x equals 20 and y equals 30 works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in the x and the y back into the angles that I started with to figure out what the measures of those angles actually are. Okay? So the measure of angle ABD, so 2x plus 40, plug in 20 for x. So this angle is going to be 80 degrees. For DBC, 2y plus 40, plug in 30 for y. I get 2 times 30 is 60. 60 plus 40 is 100. All right, and then x plus 2y, 20 plus 2 times 30, that's going to also give me 80 degrees, which checks out. Our vertical angles, 80 and 80, are congruent. Our linear pairs, 80 and 100, are supplementary. So that works with these angle relationships that should exist in this problem. Okay, but don't forget that our end goal is to figure out what this missing angle is, the measure of angle ABE. So using our angle relationships, we know that it's vertical with angle DBC, and DBC is 100 degrees. Okay, so we know it's vertical with angle DBC. We know that it is supplementary with the 80s. So either way, we can figure out that the measure of angle ABE is going to be 100 degrees. Okay, so an involved problem there that involved not only knowing our angle relationships, but also setting up a system, solving it, plugging it back in, and going from there. All right, let's do one more example. So determine characteristics of an angle. So here I'm going to give you a bunch of information, and we're going to have to see what can we conclude about a certain angle. So angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. So if I know those angles are vertical, what do I know? What else do I know about them? I know that they have to be congruent. Angle 1 has to be congruent to angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 3 are a linear pair. So if they're a linear pair, that means they're supplementary, which means the measures of their angles, if I add them together, have to equal 180. And then I'm also telling you that angle 4 is a complement of angle 1. Remember, a complement means that they add to 90. So I've also got the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 1 equals 90 degrees. Okay, so now that we've listed everything that we can conclude from these statements, what must be true about angle 4? All right, so angle 4 is less than 90 degrees. Well, that has to be true because angle 4 plus angle 1 has to equal 90. So angle 4 has to be less than 90. It can't be 90, or else why would it plus measure of angle 1 be 90? All right? It can't be more than 90 because angle 1 can't be negative. Okay, and angle 4 plus angle 1 has to equal 90. Angle 4 forms a linear pair with angle 3. Now, this gets a little bit tricky, okay? Because I don't know anything about adjacent angles. Okay? So I cannot conclude anything with that. All right? We could start to draw a diagram, and I'm going to actually double check this when I draw this diagram. I got 1 and 2 are vertical angles. 1 and 3 form a linear pair. And 4 is a complement of 1. There's nothing that says that 4 is a part of this diagram. 4 could be off to the side here. Okay? So again, don't know anything about adjacent angles, so that one's out. And angle 4 is a complement of angle 2. Well, we know angle 4 and angle 1 are complementary We also know right here that angle 1 and angle 2 are the same exact thing. So, if the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 1 is equal to 90, and if we know the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2, because the angles are congruent, then what I can do is I can swap out angle 2 for angle 1. And if I do that, I can see that angle 4 plus angle 2 is also going to equal 90 degrees. Okay, so we're looking at A and E for both of those options. All right, geometry is all about these critical thinking skills. So we got to be super strong in our relationships, understanding the relationships, and then seeing what we can conclude from there. If you have a question, make sure you let me know. Other than that, please work on these You Try Nows. Pause the video and try those out. I will erase and show my work in a little bit. So pause it, try out both of those problems. Okay, so here are the answers for the 3 You Try Now problems. Okay. A, you'll have a tough quadratic, but we can use the quadratic formula to solve for it. And then remember, once you get your x's with the quadratic, you need to go back in, plug it in, and see if your angles stay positive or negative. If an angle is negative, that's not possible. So you can't include that x. Okay? We got problem B and problem C. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, other than that, have a good one.